Hello guys, Trogdor here again with another Redstone tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm taking everything back to the basics. Um, my recent tutorial videos were advanced builds, and I was just thinking some people that are new to this probably don't understand how that stuff works. And while this won't directly explain how it works, I'm hoping this basic redstone tutorial will at least explain the basics well enough for you to get on your way with building redstone contraptions of your own. Um, so without further ado, we might as well start the tutorial because there's a lot of stuff to go through. Um, Also, there will be a map download of this exact map um, down in the description so you can look at everything up close. But let's get on with it. The first thing I would like to explain is the power sources. A contraption normally has a input, a circuit, and then an output. Um, the power sources are typically your inputs. Um, Basically, by toggling these, they put power into the redstone, and it lights up the light. So with the first one, it's a lever. This is the only one that actually toggles back and forth. Then you got buttons, which just sends a pulse. You got pressure plates, which if you're standing on them, they stay on. Difference between the wooden pressure plate and then the stone pressure plate is the wooden one will activate if an entity drops on it. So if I do this, break this block right above the stone pressure plate, the sand will not activate see, the light didn't go on. Uh, the sand does not, or entities don't affect stone pressure plates, but wooden ones, now watch this, watch the light. The sand actually activates that, which can be useful. Also will activate if you throw items on it. Any entity will activate it. We're in creative, so I can't throw items. Hopefully in 0.14.0 we'll be able to do that. That'd be nice. But back there we got a wooden button, and the big difference between a wooden button and a stone button, besides the stone button having a shorter pulse, is with wooden buttons you can actually shoot them. And if you shoot them, they'll turn on. And they'll stay on until that arrow despawns or you go and grab it. So that's useful. The next one is probably one of the most important uh, power sources. You typically won't have this in as your input. This will typically be within the circuits. But yeah, this is pretty important. Basically, we'll get to how the power transfers from it over there in the transmission part of the tutorial. But yeah, this is probably the most important power source. Next one is the redstone block. Again, these two are always on. There's no way to turn them off directly. Redstone torches you can power and they'll turn off, but again, I'll show you that over there. The next one to produce power is a detector rail. That's what that is. And if notice the light's off, now it's on because the rail went over it. If we If we push this over, turns off. On, off. And the detector rail does not detect players or anything other than minecarts. This is the last one I'll be able to show you. There is the trap chest, but I can't open that in creative. Again, hopefully 0.14.0 will fix that, but this is the tripwire. It's essentially the same as a pressure plate almost. Stand on it, it stays lit. You come off and it turns off. The pulse is a lot shorter. And the other thing is, these are really good for traps for the fact being if you destroy the string, I don't know if you've seen that, but the string, if it gets destroyed, it will actually send a pulse. So they can't just disarm it like that. I'm not sure if it does it. Yeah, it doesn't do it if you destroy the other part of the tripwire, but yeah, if you destroy the string itself, it sends a pulse, which is kind of cool. And then there's the trap chest. Again, I can't open this to show you, but it powers the block underneath it. So if you put a torch on this and this was to open, the torch would turn off. And this dust down here will turn on if you open that. Okay, next part of the tutorial, and that is power transmission. How power moves throughout essentially redstone wires. Now, any power source will transfer power all the way down up to 15 blocks. That's how far this one is. This is at 15 blocks. This redstone dust right here is at 16. So turn this on and it doesn't turn the light on. It peters out. As you can see, if you look really close, there's no animation on this piece of redstone, and that means it's has no power. And yeah, power can be transferred through a block into a redstone component like a lamp or a door or something. You cannot, however, let's see, I did put this somewhere. You cannot transfer power, like this block is powered, but it's lightly powered, so it cannot transmit power to other redstone dust. But if I were to put a lamp right there, it works. So keep that in mind. Repeaters will change that, but this is with all the stuff we have right now. I will make another video when new things come out. The dust has to be going directly into blocks to power them. As you can see, there's a bend right here. It's not traveling into the lamp. So if I flick this, the lamp turns off, or still is off. But if I were to delete that, the power goes directly in and turns the light on. I kind of touched on that over there, but if you put power into a block and there's a torch on that block, the torch will turn off. This is very useful. Essentially, this is a logic gate. I'll get into that over there. But it's a very useful aspect of redstone. You'll use it a lot. If you need to go further than 15 blocks with redstone, so this right here is actually the 16th block, so there's 15. This right here is a redstone repeater. I'll touch on it a little bit more in the logic gate section or other circuits, but basically it's just two of these inverters put together and it extends your signal out. So if you need to go farther than 15 blocks, use one of these. Now, say you have a power source on this, not including redstone torches. They're a little bit different, but buttons will act this way too. The only difference is a button won't stay on if you turn it on. But basically with this setup, if you put it on top of a block, it will power all four directions that way, and then the block underneath it, or dust right underneath the block it's on, I should say. Now, again, same thing applies to buttons with all of these. But if you flip this one on, where the dust is where it will power. So it will power underneath it, power to the sides of it, and it will power the block that it's on. So the dust on top of that block will turn on too. So that's useful. Now you don't even need dust right on top, because if you power the block itself will actually power dust around it. So yeah. So instead of having to have dust on top of it, you can save dust by doing that. There's reasons why you wouldn't want to put dust on top of blocks. Sometimes has to do with the fact that torches burn out if you make too fast of a clock, and yeah. Redstone torches are a little bit different. Redstone torches always power up the block right above them, and they'll power the blocks right beside them. Or redstone dust right beside them, because if there's a block here, the block isn't powered, but redstone dust will be powered right next to it. They do not power below it at all. The block below it is not powered. And since they power the block above it, redstone dust on top of that block will also be powered. Redstone torches that are on side of blocks can actually power downward in addition to these other directions, except for the block that it's on. The block that it's on is not powered by that torch. Yeah, so that's torches. What we got? Okay, here's some more just simple transmission. Turn that on, and as you can see, redstone dust will connect to the side of a block up and into our light, turning it on. Using solid blocks, full blocks, or whatever, non-transparent blocks, because this is a different case. But if you use solid blocks, all of these are the same setup except for the block that's just before the incline. So if you put a block here, a full block, it will cut off this power. As you can see, our light's not on, but our lever is. And that's very useful because sometimes you don't want dust interacting with one another, and it's really useful for compacting circuits, because putting stuff too close together, you'll have stuff that accidentally touches like that, and then you got feedback, and it's just not very fun. If we were to turn this one on, though, you'll see that the dust is still on over here, and that's because transparent blocks, any transparent block, glowstone would work too, they don't block the signal. It just goes right through. And this is a transparent block too for the most part. It's considered it in game. So it does the same thing. It won't cut it off. Stairs are the same. So pretty much these last two are just two different scenarios of the same thing. But yeah, that's how those go. And then I already showed you that back there. Now going up and down is a little bit different. For going up, you can do this half slab thing because half slabs do not cut the signal. And dust will travel up half slabs. So if I turn this on, our light up here will turn on. And it's instant because there's no torches involved in this, which is useful. Back here's another way to do it. It's a little bit more compact. Does add some delay because there's torches, but it's not really too noticeable. And it's actually probably the way I would go about going up shorter distances. Going up longer distances, you might want to actually do a combination of this and this. But yeah. This stairway though, this one right here, does not work going down. Actually, none of the up transmissions work going down. So you got to do it separately or differently going down. So just to prove that, the little stair, same setup, just the output and input are switched around. Click that. Doesn't even make it past the first stair because dust will not travel down transparent blocks. So if this was glowstone, it still wouldn't travel down. Even though it looks like it's a full block, and I'll prove that point. I'll just show you quick. It's easier to show you. Let's see. Glowstone. See, it still doesn't power. Even though it does have the little block on the side, or the dust on the side. This will, however, and I might as well show you that too now. If you were to put glowstone right there, this would actually still work because it travels up. For all intents and purposes, glowstone will act like a half slab or any other transparent block other than glass, because glass you cannot put redstone dust on. So if I were to flip this, the light still turns on. So, but okay. So here's just another way to go up. You can, if you need more delay for whatever reason, you can go up like this instead of just putting them one on top of each other. And it does, this one's a little bit more noticeable on delay. Oh, that was kind of just laggy. But yeah, that one's more noticeable on delay, and that's kind of what that the purpose of that is. Now for going downward on power. This one is one of the easier ways to do it. And this way right here is the instant way to do it. So we have an instant wire up right here. And this is our instant wire down. It's just like a little spiral staircase. You just, like that. Again, these have to be full blocks because if they were half slabs, the power would not go down. Here's another way to do it, a little bit more compact. It adds a little bit of delay, but what it is when you put power to a block that torch is on, the torch will turn off. And since this block is already powered by the torch above it, this one is off, and it's a cascading effect. So when I flip this switch, they all will invert in line. So this one will turn off, then this one will turn on, and so on. It adds a little bit of delay, but it does go down just fine. So these are your two ways to go down. There are other methods of doing it, and when we get repeaters, it's a little bit easier to go down in different ways. That's basically everything for transmission. That's how you move your power around. Now, what can you do with your power? Stuff that can be powered. This is basically the stuff in Minecraft other than circuits, because circuits can obviously be powered. But these are the components that can be powered. We got the redstone lamp. It's just a light source. Can go on, off. Redstone torch. Again, if you put power to it, it does interact with it by turning off. Doors can be any kind of door. Doesn't have to be a iron door, but doors will open and close with power. Same thing with fence gates and trap doors. Powered rails. They don't do anything when they're not powered, but when they are powered, they propel the minecart. This one is good to demonstrate what activator rails do. That's what this middle one is. When no power is to it, and I'm going to turn on these power rails to the side so the cow can move, but for some reason he's not moving today. Okay, I think he's stuck. Okay, technical difficulties. Here, we'll get this fixed up. Let's see, get a cow. Actually, I don't even need that. No, I can't. Okay, so let's get a cow in here. As you can see, the cow is just going back and forth on its merry way. When the activator rail has no power going to it, it acts like a normal rail. So it doesn't impede anything. He's going to go back and forth for all eternity. Unless I break the minecart. But I don't want to do that. So by powering the activator rail, it will send any mob or yourself, if you're in the cart, out of the minecart. Well, here, just watch. I'll put power to it and the cow will be ejected. Yeah. So yeah, that's what that does. Activator rails, and that's how I did my my elevator. I just put those in a spiral minecart track up and buttons to activate those for people that want a tutorial. I'll make a tutorial eventually, but I haven't cleaned that up, so. And the final thing that's in the inventory that can be powered is, well, no, actually, second to last, is a note block. If you put power to it, it makes noise. And this is the final thing that can be powered, TNT, and it can be Digerius. I don't know what that means. Digerius. Don't know. Looks like fun though. That wasn't fun. That was kind of mean. That was pretty dangerous. They should have put that on the sign. Hang on. Okay. Anyways, those are the things that can be. Man, cows are just everywhere. Those are the things that can be powered in Minecraft. The items in the inventory. Again, circuits can be powered and logic gates and stuff. Now we're going on to the logic gates and other useful simple circuits section. Let's see. Okay. Sorry about that. I was just getting a drink. Let's start off with some of the basic ones. This is an OR gate right here. And all of these are labeled, so if you download the map, it will tell you what these are. But an OR gate is just two inputs, or yeah, two inputs. We'll just explain it this way. And if one's on, the light will turn on. It doesn't matter which one is. If both are on, the light's also on. And yeah, that's how that one works. This is a NOR gate. In parentheses, it says inverted OR gate. And a lot of these are just inverted versions of another logic gate. So this is the inverted version of this. And basically, you're just adding an inverter to it. So when both inputs are off, the light's on. But when either one of them go on, the light goes off. And if both of them are on, it's still off. And that's important to make that distinction, because there's another logic gate later on that if both of them are on, it will turn back on or back off in the non-inverted version of that one. But yeah. Next one's a pretty important one. It's a NOT gate, aka inverter. Yeah, basically it just inverts your signal. So the reason why it's called a NOT gate is the output is not the input. So the input's off, the light's on. Input's on, lights off. Simple. Pretty important. As you can see, half of these logic gates use a NOT gate in their design. So yeah, it's pretty important. Next one we got is a AND gate. And what this does is two inputs, one output. When you flip one input, nothing happens. The output's still off. Flip the other input, the output's still off. If you flip both, however, the output turns on. Another very useful one. I really should have. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter how I put these, but this next one's a NAND gate. And it is just an inverted AND gate. And the reason why it's called a NAND gate is because it's a not AND gate. It's just inverted. Same thing with, I didn't say that about the NOR, but it's just a not OR gate. Yeah, so a NAND gate is just a not AND gate, inverted AND gate. So both inputs are off and the output's on. One input's on, the output's still on. Turn the other input on, the output's still on, but you turn both of them on and it turns off. Yeah. The next one is actually a fairly useful one to use in survival if you want to use levers for your doors, because this is the way you can get your doors to open and close with two different levers. This is called the XOR gate. It's called XOR because it stands for exclusive OR gate. This basically is like our other OR gate with one thing that's different. If you look at our OR gate, sure, one input will turn on, the other input will turn on, but both of them are still on. The exclusive part of the exclusive OR means it exclusively means one input is on and then your output will turn on. So if both of these inputs, and here we'll show you see, it works like an OR gate if you turn one on. If you turn the other one on, it works. But if you turn one on and then turn the other on, the output turns off. And that's pretty useful for doors, because imagine if this was a door. And why do we need imagine? I should have just said, let's put a door here. But imagine this switch is on one side of the door and this one is on the other. Your door opens, but you're on the other side now, and you can close it. It's actually pretty useful. XOR gate consists of a OR gate and an AND gate. It's kind of hard to tell on this. But on this one, you can kind of see these repeaters right here don't mess with the OR gate. So just imagine these repeaters are solid wire. And that's your OR gate on the bottom. And this top part is your AND gate. Basically what's happening is when you turn one on, part of the AND gate turns off. But this power right here turns on. If you turn this one on with it, the other part of the AND gate turns off, so this torch in the middle turns on, powering both of these torches, making the output go off. And that's how that one's working too. They're both the same thing, just two different designs. I also like this one because when you look at it, it makes an X. So, XOR gate. Then we got the XNOR gate, which is exclusive NOR gate, or just the inverted version of this. It does the same thing except for inverted. So when the outputs are, when one output is on, when one input is on, the output is off. When both of them are on, the output's on, and when both of them are off, the output's on. So yeah. And then the next part, we got Redstone repeater, which is just two NOT gates attached to each other. So you invert your signal twice and you get to go further. This can be up, this redstone dust right here could be 15 redstone dust, and then your signal will continue on. So basically putting power to this turns this torch off, which turns this torch on and continues your signal. They do not need to look like this. In fact, if you're using them like this, there's probably you're using them for delay and not to extend your signal, because the best way to extend your signal is to put them in this configuration, because you can put 15 blocks here, or 15 redstone dust here, 15 here, and then 15 here. And you can go really far with that. If you do it like this, you can still put 15 right here, but most people just make this and call it good. And they're really just adding more delay in their contraptions for no reason. Let's see what we got next. We got some clocks. Clocks are just things that go around. The pulse goes around and periodically it will send a pulse out. And this one right here is a 3 clock because it has 3 ticks of delay. 3 torches equals those 3 ticks. This one's a 5 clock because of 5 torches, 5 ticks of delay. These blocks are being powered, so currently these inputs are off now, which turns the clock on. But as you can see, it flashes, and you can see the delay on it. This one's a little bit slower, a little bit faster. If you do a 1 clock, it's not going to work. Your torch will burn out. So yeah, that's kind of what this thing's for, but it hasn't been working very good in Pocket Edition for some reason. But this is a rapid pulsar. It's a very fast clock, and basically the way this works is the torches, they'll each burn out, but another one will be on. So this line gets powered and depowered really fast. And there it goes. Kinda. Yeah, it's kinda working. There it goes. But yeah, that's that. It's probably not very reliable, but next one is a simple memory cell. There's other designs, other types of latches, but this is by far the most common. The RS NOR latch. It's again a memory cell, and the reason why it's called the NOR latch is because it uses NOR gates to create it. What a memory cell does is it has two inputs. Well, actually, this RS latch has two inputs. There's other ones that actually have more inputs. But yeah, those are more advanced circuits or logic gates. Again, this one will serve most of your purposes. But this one has two inputs, and I use buttons on this because they deal in pulses anyways. So there's no reason to have a lever because on and off doesn't work. But basically, one of the buttons will set the memory cell or have the memory cell remember or store the piece of information in memory. So if we press that, now the cell remembers that it's on, that this button was pressed. And as you can see, pressing this button now does nothing else. That's because this is the set. And the set, all it can do is set the latch. And that's what the S stands for in RS. Again, this can be SR. All depends on how you look at it. They're equally valid. So this is the set, but this button over here is how you turn or in this case, turn the lamp off. But this is how you reset the latch. By pressing that button, it turns the lamp off. The latch is reset. Again, the reset now does nothing because it's already reset. And we can press the set again and just go back and forth like that. That's useful in few contraptions. I use these in my minecart station, my elevator, my redstone timer, my combination lock. So they're very, very useful. This is a monostable circuit. The reason why this one doesn't have a lamp attached to it is because it's so fast the lamp won't register it. This is a one-tick pulse generator / monostable circuit. This is a rising edge detector. That means that when it sends a pulse right at the rising edge, which is the very first part, or when power is sent to it. So it doesn't do anything when the power's off. I guess you could probably, yeah, here I'll put, let's see. You can definitely show that a little bit better by using a lever. So it will pulse when I turn the lever on, but when I turn the lever off, it won't do anything. It's a monostable circuit. It only works when it's going from off to on. That's what that is. And to get it to go from on to off, just put a inverter on this and yeah, it'll work that way. This one's a 3-pulse monostable circuit. Again, this is rising edge, but that pulse Again, this is your output. That pulses faster. One tick is useful in certain things. We don't got too many uses for it right now because mainly they're useful in pistons. But 3-tick pulse, I find me using this quite a bit. It's very useful. And that's, yeah. T flip-flop. This one's a little bit of a mess. I haven't refined this. This is my own design. But what a T flip-flop does is it takes a pulse, and that's why we're using a button in this case again. Takes a pulse and it will toggle the output. So the input's a pulse, output is over here. That's these lamps. I put 2 on there so we can see it from over here. But if you press the button, it will toggle the output. And it will just stay on. Press it again, toggles it again, it turns it off. And this differs from the memory cell, the NOR latch, which is right here, in that it only has 1 input instead of 2. And the input does both things. It sets and resets it. And what is going on here? This is why I don't use this T flip-flop design. Because my, for some reason, my minecarts always do something like that. And I think it's something pushing them in there. So maybe if I block them in. But this is another design for a T flip-flop. This one's not mine. This is Mumbo Jumbo's design. Or maybe not. I don't know. That's who I first seen this with. But, yeah, it does the same thing. Press the button. Lamp will turn on. Press the button again. Lamp will turn off. And, yeah. Basically just the same thing as this. A little bit smaller. But I've got to say it's a little bit less reliable too. But that's pretty much all there is to that. It's all the basics I can really think of. I didn't touch on daylight sensors for the simple fact that I'm in creative mode and the sun, I kept daylight on, so the video was easier to see. I'll probably do a separate video on daylight sensors because a lot of people have misconceptions about those and think they're bugged out, but they're working properly. I can assure you of that. So I'll probably do a separate tutorial on those, but these are the basics on Redstone, and this should get you going on your own building, your own stuff. Hopefully this video has helped somebody, and if it has, let me know. Leave a comment down in the comment section, and more importantly, if you benefited from it, leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, I do a Redstone video every Wednesday, so I think that's all I wanted to cover. So have a good day and goodbye.